Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more TV news. It's been a while since I've addressed a TV issue, but I saw a story recently on the Associated Press that Dave Chappelle said he is considering bringing back the Chappelle Show. Now, if anybody remember the Chappelle Show, it was the show that he had on Comedy Central back in 2003. It only lasted a couple seasons, and then he was done with the show, and then he started to go the independent route and started to do his own comedy specials. He's been exclusively with Netflix for the last decade or so, just getting his story out there and doing his comedy and just staying away from the TV light, more so in the independent route, if you can call it independent with Netflix. But um, I think him bringing this show back would be major for several different avenues, especially modern television. If he can find a network to go to, I doubt if he probably go back to a Comedy Central with the way it ended, or but with the advent and the ascension of streaming networks, I think that he will probably go that route because he does have a deal with Netflix. If that's still active, I think he just not too long ago reached a special with them, so I think he's still active with them. So it'll probably be more so a Netflix or HBO Max or one of those type deals because he he would have the leverage and that would be the most popular avenue to go to. But if he can go to a TV network, he would probably bring back more television watching because most people do everything through an app and they do things through YouTube and things like that. So I think his show would be major enough that he could bring back modern television, even if our people are watching through an app. But to go through a TNT or USA or whatever the big TV network is now, the networks, he could still do that if he wanted to because his show was more than just a show. It launched a lot of careers and legacies as well. So whether it's a Key and Peele or a Bill Burr, or you have like, Drewski, like the stuff that he does now is what Dave Chappelle excelled well in. And he was one of the first people to do that. I mean, of course, you had In Living Color back in the 80s, but I never watched that show live because I was too young back then. I was able to watch the reruns. But and I'm not saying Dave Chappelle launched more careers than In Living Color did because In Living Color had the Jennifer Lopez's and the Wayans brothers, and they had Tommy Davidson, and they had Jamie Foxx and Jim Carrey and others. So they've launched probably more careers than I can think of from any show other than Saturday Night Live, of course. But Dave Chappelle's show was a little bit different because of the honest commentary that he had, the control that he had over the show to be able to put out so much content that was unseen, unheard of at the time, especially for television in the 2000s. You didn't think people could talk about the issues that he did, but his comedy is much of the same, and he's doing that now. And this is prior to cancel culture. Now, could his show still exist? The same type of show he had in 2003 exists today with the cancel culture. And I thought about it, and I thought it still can because Dave Chappelle has enough leverage. He has enough equity in the game to be able to pull this show off and still do that. Because most of Dave Chappelle's fan base is an older fan base, so we don't really necessarily subscribe to cancel culture. So I think he has that unique ability to avoid cancel culture, at least for the most part. There'll always be people complaining about something or hating on something or just trying to forbid something just because of whatever. So you always have that. But I think he can avoid cancel culture just because he has an older fan base that understands just he's just joking and his joke is a joke. And everybody is equal opportunity when it comes to the joke. So I think he has that unique fan base through that. But his inspiration for so many different artists and so many different comedians and so many different people in the urban community specifically was created the climate that we have today with the social media. And he pretty much segued us into social media with the skits. I talked about the Drewskis and the DC Young Flies. All these guys looked up to Dave Chappelle and watched the Chappelle show and drew inspiration from it because our generation was too young for in living color. We really didn't. The jokes weren't really geared for the urban community as far as Saturday Night Live goes. So Dave Chappelle was that for us because he was relating to us, and a lot of the jokes resonated with us, especially in the urban community. But I've seen a lot of different ethnicities and races embrace Dave Chappelle's comedy from the Chappelle Show and its legendariness. So when anytime it comes on, you're able to run to the television. I remember those days in '03 when I was in like ninth and 10th grade when it came out, running to the TV to watch it. Because usually it's only like sports that we would watch, but then the Chappelle Show was one of the few shows that we watched that wasn't sports. So I think he can bring back that television era for the older generations from, being in that 30 to 50-year-old range. He can bring those viewerships back. But I do think next time if he gets into a TV deal, it would be more clarity and more control because there is some discrepancy allegedly about the money part. And I think now he has way too much leverage to get into any kind of bad deals. So he would pretty much have to write his own check coming up this time around. And in the interview, they asked him, if you asked me this a couple of weeks ago, a couple months ago, he'd probably say definitely not. But he said recently he's been reconsidering it. And I'm pretty sure he has tons of offers of people who want to bring him back because he's created so much more than just success for himself, but for everybody and for what the industry is now. So the whole skit thing is something that he made famous and or rejuvenated in the market because like I said before, Saturday Night Live and In Living Color existed before, but he was pretty much doing this as a one-man show with his friends and people he um, chose to work with. So he was pretty much doing it by himself. He was a Saturday Night Live by himself or In Living Color by itself. And people don't realize the importance of In Living Color and what it did. It made a whole NFL create a halftime show. So not only did In Living Color create jobs for young, inspiring actors and comedians, they created a whole halftime show for the NFL and how big the Super Bowl was. Because before they were only doing bands, live music, and stuff like that. But then they said, let's go get a Michael Jackson, let's go get a Prince to do halftime show because they had to compete with In Living Color and what they did that one year for the halftime show. So kudos to In Living Color and definitely to Dave Chappelle for their contributions to television and to entertainment as a whole. So, tell me what your thoughts about the Chappelle show coming back. And of course, until next time, see you next time.